Today I'm going to show you how to do a 12 volt replacement on an earlier Model S. This one happens to be a 2013 and the 12 volt warning light is on. So here we have the warning that comes up on the dashboard usually when the 12 volt needs replacement. So today I'm going to show you how to do that. First we're going to open it. So on this one, the battery is not up front like the newer ones, it is in the back far corner. So what we have to do is pull some of the front tub trim away. So take this panel out. Snake that over, around like that. Now we have to remove the microfilter housing box to get in here. So pull this off. Pull this back, we have to remove these two clips. You can use a clip tool, you can use a flathead screwdriver, whichever you have. Flip this up. It'll actually lock underneath the shock, which is kind of handy. Take the microfilter out. Next we have to take these two 10mm out. Then you lift these two tabs on the top. This one's broken off from, lift this one right here. Lift out, rotate, slide out sideways. Get some more light so you can see with. Next we have to remove these four nuts. There's two here, one down here in the bottom, and this one up on the top. Now this one on the top, all you have to do is loosen it because it's slotted on the plastic, so it'll just slide out from underneath it, so you don't have to take that one all the way out. The rest you have to take off. Next we're going to use a swivel to get these two. Reach down in here. One. Like I said, just loosen that. Next, pull this rubber piece out here. This is a water diverter. Pull that out. Pull this out and slide it sideways. Next, we have to remove the top of the fuse box cover. Do that by, there's two tabs right here, squeeze and lift. And there's two tabs, one in the back here and the one over here. Let's pull this out. So before going any further, we need to shut down the vehicle and disable the high voltage system and the 12 volt system. And we're going to do it by going inside. Go underneath safety and security and hit the power off button. Power off. What this is going to do is shut down all the modules and power down the vehicle. So next, we're going to undo the fireman's loop, lift this tab up, disconnect, and then disconnect the negative on the battery, 8mm. Take the bolt out, just slide the terminal sideways, get it out of the way, and the car's off and safe. Next we're going to start with this line right here. This is from the DC to DC. 13mm. There's one, and there's another 13 back here. This is the actual 12-volt one. Now this 13 millimeter and this 13 millimeter nut are different. They're different threads. Do not mix them up. See, they're different nuts and different threads. So remove the 12-volt line like this, and you can flip it over. This is no longer alive because the high voltage system shut down and the 12 volts disconnected. There's an 8 millimeter in here, right here, sorry. That 8 millimeter is what's holding this fuse box to the top of the battery. Pull it out. I'll just lift up on the fuse box, and the whole fuse box comes up. What we're going to do is we're going to take this and flip this over to the side. So next I'm going to bungee cord this over. If you notice I put gloves on, this 12 volt is leaking everywhere. So you want to be careful, that is battery acid. To hold this out of the way, you simply use a bungee cord. Works good over here. Don't make it too tight because you don't want to break the AC line. Just enough to hold it out of the way, like that. And we're gonna, this bracket right here has a 10 millimeter nut, and there's another 10 millimeter nut in the back side. The only time you should actually touch that nut is if you need to loosen it to get the height off the battery. Just loosening this one should be enough to get the battery out. And I'll show you how to do that. So we're going to remove this nut. Something with a magnetic socket is very helpful in this point. So you just lift this bracket up. Don't lose the J-hook down there. Bend this bracket up a little bit and wiggle it beyond all the 12 volt lines here, like that, and then flip it backwards like that. Next we're going to pull the 12 volt out. This is a puzzle piece, so watch the way I do it. So you lift up and you rotate while it's in here sideways, and you slide it straight towards the front and out like that. And that is one junk 12 volt. So because our 12 volt leaked everywhere, I want to use this as a comparison to the new battery. I'm going to clean this up a little bit and use some battery cleaner. You can do something similar with baking soda and water, but this one has a acid indicator. It'll tell you if there's acid present, which you can see there is. You want to do this to the battery compartment as well. You primarily would like to do this to the, if your battery's leaking, you want to do this compartment is definitely, because as you can see, there is definitely a lot of battery acid leaking down in here. You don't want it to corrode or eat through the trays. What this will do is it'll neutralize it. Let it sit and rinse it off later. Oh, look at that, even got in the firewall. Now that we've got our battery tray all cleaned up, let's get on to prepping the new battery. Here's your old battery. There's the new battery that we offer. purchased this on the EV Tuning website. So it comes with new brass terminals. This will work fine on the newer style Model S's with the 12 volt up front. So this is a direct drop-in. But on the earlier generation cars, you need to modify the positive terminal a little bit. I'll show you how that works. So here's the two batteries side by side. Kind of show you what the differences are. So if you notice, the threaded post is offset from the original terminal, whereas this one is right where that original terminal was. The negative, it makes it a little tighter with the fuse box. And the positive, because the fuse box does bolt on the top of this, we do have to change it with a different adapter, because this will not work on this battery with a fuse box. So what we need to do is remove the positive terminal. The negative terminal can stay. The reason why I say this is because this is the fuse box, or a fuse box. This goes like this on top of the battery. Please note how it fits. So we need to make this battery do the same thing. The other issue too is this is a flat top. This has a notch on the top of it, so there's a little bit of a difference, but this will still work. So what we need to do is make this fuse box work on here. So I have an adapter that I kind of came up with. A couple of bolts and some hardware. This will adapt it to the newer style battery. What I do is put that on, not so tight just yet. So that works. So what you want to do is clock this. I'll clock this at an angle. And this should fit perfectly. And then there's an included bolt and lock washer that will thread into this. And that'll be the replacement. Back here at our car, and take the battery over. I'm going to turn the terminals to the passenger side with the positive terminal towards the back. You're going to slip this with our light cooperating. You slip this back this way at an angle, then rotate it vertical into the hole and drop it in like that. Next, we're going to take the hold-on bracket, slide it back over. Try not to get caught in the wires. Slide it over. Position your battery. You may have to loosen it up in the back. If you notice, as I'm trying to push this down, it's getting really tight. So we need to turn that back about a couple of turns, 3 or 4 turns, just until it fits. You need a long extension to get this guy. There we go. That's better. Essentially, you want the fit to be snug. On this side, we have to pick that J hook up and get it in the hole of the bracket. This requires a little finesse with 2 hands. Ooh. If it comes out, that's okay. Just rehook it in. There you go. Leave this loose until you get the fuse box on and lined up. These two rails right here on the top actually curve up. Can't really see on the camera, but they curl up vertically like this, and they go in the bottom of the fuse block, and that lines the block up to the top of the battery. So if this is tight, you might not be able to line up. Next, unhook this, bring your fuse box over. What you want to do is lift up the back wires a little bit so you have the slack. Drop this down onto the bracket. Now you can see the bracket locked in. See how it moves around. What you want to do is move that around until you get the back adapter bracket that we have built back here to line up with the hole. The easiest way to do that is to actually put the bolt in. I have our bolt. This again. Line this up. Thread that bolt in, so now you know where it needs to be, and just tighten that down. And the very next nut to put in would be the 8mm that goes in this hole. Okay. Let's tighten the B plus. Okay. Next, we're going to bring over the DC to DC feed for the vehicle. Remember I said there's two different nuts for this. So this one with the knurling was the one that originally back here. If you're putting in an original replacement, you'd use this again. If you're not going to use that. The one that goes on here is a weird nut. It has like a cover over the original nut. That's the one that belongs here. Tighten that down. Excellent. Fuse box is nice and tight. So now we're going to reconnect the negative terminal. Maybe a little snug. You might have to move the fuse box over a little bit. Here we go. Okay, it's connected in tight. Reconnect our loop. That should be good. Let's double check to make sure vehicle power's up. Look at that. Tesla T's coming up. Car's going to do a self-check. Our screen came up. And our alert is no longer on the dashboard. Next, we're going to put the fuse box lid on. Goes that way, so that cover goes over the sides. Clip on nice. All this. Oop. Okay. And this. This one. Here's the other. This one we're gonna have to snake in by hand. Okay. This then slips in. Make sure there's a rubber, that rubber drain kind of sticks up. So reach in and push it down. Like that. 2 screws. Next, we're going to fold this down. Install the clip. And this clip. Make sure you pull out the fireman's loop. Like that. Make sure your microfilter's facing proper direction. Install that. Next, reinstall your previously removed trim. Slide this over. Pull this up. Put that in. And then your next piece. Slide it over and under, like so. And over this way. And clipping in, make sure it's inside the metal brackets. Pull back. It's all snapped in, and you're all set.